Kentucky is feeling the Arctic blast today. We won't get above freezing temperatures. Here are some reminders on how to keep you and your family safe during these unexpectedly cold conditions. Kentucky State Police say to avoid unnecessary travel in winter weather, but if you do go out, be sure to watch out for slippery roads. And be sure to have a full tank of gas, blankets, and phone chargers inside of your car just in case. You can check on roads in your area at goky.ky.gov. And for all of your animal lovers out there, be sure to bring your pets inside. Outdoor animals need more energy to keep warm, so make sure to keep their food bowls full. And antifreeze has a sweet scent that attracts animals even though it is toxic to them. Be sure to clean up spills as you prepare for winter weather. As these cold temperatures work their way through Kentucky, Spectrum News 1 is all over the state. Let's check in with Mario Anderson in Lexington.
Temperatures in Lexington on Monday were in the low to mid 60s with sunshine. Today we all woke up to snowflakes plus cloudy skies and very cold temperatures in the low to mid 20s on this Tuesday. Now this morning I was on the road starting at 5:30 following the first snowfall of the winter season. And I spoke with one driver who shared why she was less concerned about the snow and more shocked about waking up to Tuesday morning's frigid digits.
It's shocking. I'm from Virginia, and every time I come here in the wintertime, it seems to be the coldest place on earth. So that's all I can say. And I wished I had my gloves.
The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet reports that road crews worked throughout the overnight and early morning hours pre-treating roads here in the city of Lexington, but also across other state roads here in the Commonwealth to ensure that the morning commute would be safe for all drivers. Now, of course, here on Spectrum News 1, we'll bring you throughout the rest of the afternoon the latest road and weather conditions as it becomes available. For now, though, reporting in Lexington, Mario Anderson, Spectrum News 1.
I'm Jamila Muhammad reporting in Bowling Green at First Baptist Church here at the Child Care Program Center. They are having so much fun. They're playing games, they're playing headbands, and because school is closed, everyone is here having fun. I'm here with Miss Tina, who is going to talk to us a little bit about what you guys are going to be doing today.
Today we're just going to have a fun day. We're just going to enjoy the being out of school, play games, go to the gym, color. What else should we do today, Adeline? Play on Nintendos. Play on Nintendos.
And play on electronics. Go outside and play with snow.
Oh, I think we could do that. We're just going to have a lot of fun and just enjoy being a kid today.
Yay! Perfect. So again, yes, we had Warren County schools be closed today. So all the kids are out. They're having fun. They're going to be out and about outside playing and just having a good time today. Right, guys?
Yeah!
All right, guys, again, I'm Jamila Muhammad here in Bowling Green. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Jamila and Mario. We will have more weather coverage from other parts of the state in the next 10 minutes. Stay with us. Our statewide cold weather coverage continues now. Let's head over to Spectrum News 1 reporter Eileen Street in Louisville to see how things are looking out there.
I'm on Hurstbourne Parkway near Interstate 64 in Louisville, where it is still cold and it will stay that way. Today's temperatures won't go above the freezing mark. I spoke to a few people around here about their thoughts on this weather.
I don't like cold weather. I'm still wearing shorts. But we're looking forward to the sunshine. It is pretty, but it's just cold, and we have that to look forward to for a long time. So we're looking forward to spring and warm weather.
It's kind of unexpected, especially in November. So I'm kind of wanting it to warm up a little bit before Christmas, then a little bit of snow after that.
We went directly, seemingly from summer to winter, or at least, well, we didn't have much fall, but to winter. So I think it may be an indication of how our winter may be.
While it is cold out here, it is very pretty, so take advantage of this winter wonderland. Snap some photos and share them on Twitter and Facebook and tag us Spectrum News 1 KY, and we may share them. In Louisville, Eileen Street, Spectrum News 1.
Thanks, Eileen. Well, we're not the only ones feeling the cold today. About 70% of the United States is experiencing freezing temperatures. As of this morning, over 240 million people were under winter warnings, watches, and advisories. More than 1,000 flights have been canceled in Chicago. It's predicted that by tonight, record-breaking low temperatures are going to move across the country.
Good evening, and thanks for watching our live coverage of Decision 2019. I'm Michelle Lindstrom.
And I'm Lachlan McLean. Polls just closed in Western Kentucky. Results are starting to filter in across the state.
We have live coverage of the Democratic and Republican watch parties and are joined by our analysts Les Fugit and Sherman Brown. We'll hear from them in just a minute. But first, let's get right to our reporters in the field. Spectrum News 1's Joe Ragusa is at the Galt House where Republicans are holding their watch party.
And Joe, the governor's race was too close to call starting the day. How are the people feeling now?
Well, everyone here is optimistic about the election results. The polls closed just moments ago in the central time zone, so the actual returns are going to come in slowly before they establish a clear winner, and we've seen the numbers so far kind of go back and forth between Beshear and Bevin. Now the election, Bevin is hanging out here at the Galt House in Louisville with the other Republican candidates for statewide office. His running mate, State Senator Ralph Alvarado, told us he's confident about the election results tonight.
We think we're going to win. Things are looking good. I think I think what we've done for the state is just the reason why. I think people are going to take a look, and people often ask, why should you be reelected? I was on some radio interviews this morning, and you take a look at someone's track record and see why. So the economic growth that the state is starting to see, I think people are encouraged by that. And so I think they're going to come out and vote. There's been some heavier voter turnouts from what we've heard anecdotally, at least, from a lot of different precincts. And so we're hoping that will turn into votes on our side. We feel very confident, though. We feel good.
And if the most recent polling shows any indication, this race will go down to the wire. The last poll from Mason-Dixon polling had Bevin and Andy Beshear tied at 46%, with support for Bevin growing. Now that poll was taken several weeks before a push by the Trump administration to campaign for Bevin in the final days, including President Donald Trump's rally in Lexington last night. Vice President Mike Pence and HUD Secretary Ben Carson also visited Kentucky earlier today. And it sounds like the crowd is reacting to positive results for Bevin as we're seeing some of the returns come up here on the screen. Now, according to polls by Morning Consult, Bevin is polled among the least popular governors in the state, but he has always shrugged off those polls and said they were effectively irrelevant. We'll have more updates on this race as we go along throughout the night. Reporting in Louisville, Joe Ragusa, Spectrum News 1.
All right, thanks, Joe. And Democrats are also holding their watch party in downtown Louisville, just 2 miles from the Republicans.
And that's where we find our Ashley Mills. Now, Ashley, Democrats are hoping they can change the momentum of the past couple years and take back the governor's mansion. How's the energy there?
Michonne and Locke, the excitement as well as the music is turned up here. In fact, I spoke with a voter who's here in support of Beshear. She told me she is feeling robust and electrified. So that gives you kind of an idea of just how excited these people are to be here tonight, really hoping they can turn this watch party into a victory party. We've heard that Andy Beshear is going to be watching the returns come back with his family at home, and then once the race gets a little closer to call, that's when he'll make his way over to his campaign watch party here now. Of course, he has been on the move for more than a year, campaigning to unseat Governor Bevin, and over the last 24 hours, he wrapped up his statewide bus tour in Western Kentucky, trying to get out the vote there. He's been campaigning on issues like health care and pension, really mobilizing teachers and even minors to kind of get out the vote so that he can oust Governor Bevin. It's a tight race. They were head-to-head in the last Mason-Dixon poll. We'll see just how that goes tonight. It should be interesting here, but right now the excitement really high. We'll continue to bring you guys updates. For now, I'm live in Louisville. Back to you guys in the studio.
Great, thanks, Ashley. Now we are joined now by Republican analyst Les Fugit and Democrat analyst Sherman Brown. And let's talk about their closing strategies. Matt Bevin, of course, we know, had a big rally last night with President Trump, where Andy Beshear spent his time touring Western Kentucky.
Yeah, you could see the strategy from Governor Bevin really take place basically starting in September. He started talking about values and particular issues that he thought would drive voters to the polls and kind of ignore his personality issues that he's been dealing with throughout the campaign. Closing with Trump obviously is his strongest card, and it's a win for Trump. If Governor Bevin wins tonight, Trump will get a lot of the credit. But if Governor Bevin loses, Trump's not really responsible for that. I think people know that Governor Bevin, again, has some personality issues that he's been dealing with the electorate, and that's probably what will, determine the outcome of the election.
Yeah, and I think for Democrats, especially for the whole slate, Andy Beshear leading that Team Kentucky was the title and the kind of the logo that they campaigned on here throughout all of the general. What we saw is them trying to tie that back and talk about being from Kentucky and keeping this race as much as we could about Kentucky. Whereas, like Les said, the more we talk about Trump, Democrats, and we've seen the way that if it's a national vote, Democrats aren't going to win that in Kentucky.
What about the turnout numbers? You saw the Republican candidate for lieutenant governor said he thought they'd have higher turnout and that would help them. If that's true, if we are getting more than the 31% that's projected, who would that help?
So I would think from our side, we've talked to several people. The Secretary of State said that she thought it would be 31%. Immediately, I think everybody jumped on that and said, hey, look, it's going to be higher. Democrats that I've talked to, there's kind of a sweet spot. If it goes up and it's somewhere between 34 and 37, we feel good. If it goes over that, we feel like we're in a little bit of trouble. You start looking at back even 2003 when the numbers were much better for Democrats, but that 2003 turnout was a 40% turnout. Republicans took that home with Ernie Fletcher.
That's funny. Sherman and I did not talk about this before we came on the air, and that's exactly right where the number I thought it might be. I would say 38 and above is probably where Republicans want to be, and that mid-zone is kind of scary for Republicans. And right now, I'm confident that turnout will be much more than the 31% predicted, and it's probably much closer to this mid-zone that Sherman was talking about.
And I know that also where those votes are is going to have a really big impact on who determines this race. If a lot of those numbers are in Fayette County and Jefferson County, that's probably going to go toward Beshear. If those numbers are kind of in the rural part of the state, that may help Bevin.
When I was breaking down the race, I basically broke it out into two parts. Fayette County and Jefferson County, and then the rest of the state. If you kind of compare those areas, you want to see how much does Bevin lose from his previous performance in the rural areas compared to how many votes Beshear can rack up in the urban areas, and that will determine the outcome.
Yeah, looking at Fayette County, I mean, we're looking at a race in 2000 or a county in 2015 that Conway only won by about 10,000. We know how that race ended up. We have Governor Bevin. And right now, there's it's around 88% reporting, and Beshear has a 32,000 vote lead. I mean, that's 3 times the amount that Conway has.
It's a sizable margin.
All right. Well, we will have more analysis and results as they start to come in right after this break. And your weather on the ones.
Welcome to Spectrum News 1. I'm Mario Anderson with a preview of some of the top stories we're following this half hour. We'll have a report from Dayton, Ohio following a mass shooting that left 9 people dead, several more injured, and a city grieving. We're also learning more about a 24-year-old gunman who police say is responsible for a mass shooting that killed 20 people at an El Paso shopping complex.
I'm tracking showers and thunderstorms for the week ahead. When do you need to bring that umbrella with you? I'll let you know with your weather on the ones. That starts right now.
A community is mourning after 9 people lost their lives and at least 27 others were injured Saturday night into Sunday morning in Dayton, Ohio. Here's what we know so far. The shooting happened late Saturday night, just hours after a separate mass shooting happened in El Paso, Texas. The suspect has died and is identified as 24-year-old Connor Betts. The suspect's sister is among the victims who died, and the age range of victims killed is from 22 to 57 years old. Here's the first set of names of the 9 victims who were killed, including the gunman's sister, Megan. And here is also the second list of names for the rest of the victims. There is more to be learned about each person, and we'll be sure to update you as we know more. Now, authorities say there are writings from the suspected gunman that show he had an interest in killing people. Police are searching a home connected to the shooting and released images of the shooter's weapons, as you can see right here on your screen. Dayton's mayor says she's received immense support from all across the U.S., and she's heard from over 70 other mayors across the country, but it's not necessarily a good thing they can offer her support in this trying time.
Honestly, I have to say that unfortunately, because we have so many of these incidences, there is a bevy of mayors that are able to give great advice and feedback. I think that's, quite frankly, a little sad if you think about it, that they've learned so much because all of their communities have gone through these terrible mass shootings.
Our Spectrum News 1 team is on the ground in Dayton speaking with community members about the tragedy. Let's check in with Michael Cadigan, who talked to community members at a vigil honoring the victims.
A lot of people in Dayton today are trying to come to grips with the tragedy that happened overnight Sunday.
So I was thinking a lot about Texas. Waking up to that this morning and hearing that on the news was absolutely jolting and devastating.
There was a lot of questions and a lot of embracing going on outside the convention center.
It just pulls on our heartstrings because even though we may not have known each of these victims individually, we have met them or we know someone who knows them.
We spoke with a few people today about kind of what their thoughts are, especially hours after the El Paso news sunk in, just to come to terms with this tragedy that happened here.
Because now we know that anything can happen anywhere. You know, Walmart, the movies, you can't even go out and enjoy yourself.
Coming down to this vigil makes one think, are we going to be safe going down there? And so, but again, it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do to come here and be with others.
Reporting in Dayton, Michael Cadigan, Spectrum News 1.
Governor Matt Bevin responded to the Dayton, Ohio shooting through a tweet Sunday morning, writing, "Yet another heartbreaking tragedy unfolded last night in our neighboring state of Ohio. We have a cultural and spiritual crisis taking place in America. To think otherwise is to turn a blind eye to reality. May God heal our land." And President Donald Trump also shared his support for those affected by the shootings this weekend in Texas and Ohio. He tweeted, "God bless the people of El Paso, Texas. God bless the people of Dayton, Ohio." President Donald Trump also spoke on the shootings before leaving New Jersey on Sunday.
I want to extend our condolences to the people of El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. They're incredible people, and they've been through a lot. This is mental illness. These are really people that are very, very seriously mentally ill.
The president ordered flags be at half-mast at all public government buildings until sunset on August 8th for the victims of the shootings this weekend. The president also said he will have full remarks on Monday morning. The crime scene in El Paso is still under investigation after a gunman took the lives of 20 people and injured over 24 more. The shooting happened at a Walmart in a shopping center Saturday morning. Local law enforcement, along with plenty of backup from the state and federal government, are collecting evidence they say will tell the story of a 21-year-old man opening fire on people shopping. They're working to prove how they say he drove here from Allen, Texas, some 9 hours away to purposefully shoot and kill. An online manifesto, authorities say, was written by the suspect and is filled with anti-immigrant language. Americans and Mexicans confirmed among the dead, and one day after their murder, lawmakers say they've had enough.
Everything's on the table. We owe it to the 20 lives that were lost here. We owe it to the I think 9 lives that have been lost in Dayton and in Parkland and in Sutherland and Santa Fe and cities and towns all over the country that are experiencing this.
In addition to lawmakers, parents of shooting victims are starting to speak out too. Manny Oliver, father of a Parkland shooting victim who died during the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018, is in El Paso. He says it's time for lawmakers to take action now.
And I've heard some politicians saying it's too early to talk about guns. The families deserve respect. Well, the families are waiting for you to talk about guns. That's what I was waiting for a few hours after knowing that I lost my son. That's a reality.
That same father is putting a mural together in El Paso, Texas at the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center. The artist is Manuel Oliver, and he lost his 17-year-old son, Joaquin, on February the 14th of last year when a gunman opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Oliver and his wife are traveling the world, urging people to change the nation's gun laws. Sunday would have been Joaquin's 19th birthday.
And sleep is very underrated. If you don't get enough sleep, it causes a lot of different symptoms.
Coming up, we'll tell you about the importance of establishing a bedtime routine before the first day of school. And it looks like those temperatures are going to be climbing high for the start of your work week. Your Weather on the Ones is next.
Hello and welcome to Spectrum News 1. I'm Lachlan McLean here with a look at our top stories.
And then I want you to take real action.
It's a global movement for a change in climate policy around the world. We'll meet some of the participants and tell you what it's all about. And Kentucky's most famous spirit now has a music festival to its name. We take you inside Bourbon and beyond. But first, let's head over to the Weather Center for your local Weather on the Ones, which starts right now.
The government should have been acting yesterday. Like, this isn't something that we should be fighting for as children.
It's a global movement for climate change. People of all ages, but mostly teenagers, took to the streets of their communities for a call to action to lawmakers.
Hi, and welcome to Spectrum News 1. I'm Chelsea Washington, here with a look at what stories are coming up this half hour. There's an uncertain fate for Kentucky kids in juvenile detention. We have the latest details on the unclear plan. President Donald Trump is making his way to Kentucky. We'll tell you when and why he'll be here. But first, we're tracking hot temps across the state. Let's go to the Weather Center now for your Weather on the Ones forecast.
People need to be paid what they're worth, and we just feel like it's time for Kentucky to step up.
2 Kentucky lawmakers are working to double the state minimum wage. According to a Big7Travel.com survey, there are accents in the U.S. that are sexier than others, and Kentucky is ranked at number 26. So Spectrum News 1 went out to ask fellow Kentuckians which accent they thought was best.
Probably somewhere in the Midwest, because you can't ever tell where they're from.
West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, one of those two, yeah.
And why would you choose it?
Yeah, it's just different.
Midwestern, but no, more north, like North Dakota. They have a certain kind of accent. I can't really describe it. It's not Midwestern.
And our Mario Anderson has lived in Kentucky his entire life, so here's his take on why the Kentucky accent is simply the best.
I'm actually pretty surprised that Kentucky wasn't ranked a little higher in that list. I mean, Kentucky, we all know that it's very diverse with the population, but over in eastern Kentucky, you know, there's a little more twang in that part of the region of the state. But then Lexington, Louisville, northern Kentucky, you know, there's a very mixed, diverse population there, but it's more, the dialect is more Midwest feel, in my opinion. But, you know, my Kentucky home, it's a real thing, and makes us pretty unique regardless of what part of the state you're in.
I love a Southern accent. Now, the Texan accent was ranked at number 1, Bostonian was number 2, New Yorker number 3, and those up in Maine are at number 4.
All week, we've been reporting the southeast U.S. is preparing in any way they can as Hurricane Dorian continues to churn in the Atlantic. And Florida Animal Park Gatorland in Orlando is no exception. More than 2,000 American alligators live at Gatorland, hence the name. It also features other animals including exotic birds, panthers, and bobcats, which are being secured in buildings. Mark McHugh, the CEO of the park, explains what will happen with the alligators during the storm.
Alligators and crocodiles? Well, folks, they've been around for 75 million years. It ain't their first rodeo with nasty storm. They actually feel that barometric pressure changing. They'll get in the water, they go down, sit underwater. They've learned to ride out big storms by just sitting on the bottom of the ponds, come up with their nostrils and take a little breath every now and then. So don't worry about it. All of our animals are going to be safe here at Gatorland. Rest assured, if you see an alligator swimming down your street or sitting in your pool, it ain't one of ours, all right?
He's pretty brave for standing in front of all of them, right? I wouldn't do that. Park staff are staying at the animal park during the hurricane to assess and repair any damage once the winds drop below those ever important tropical storm levels.
What are you doing right now?
Getting some B-roll of the shop.
So Michaela just got done with her second interview, and during the time between wrapping up the second interview, we actually got a phone call back from Councilwoman Kate Gallego, and so we're actually going to call her back right now and drive back to the studio while I'm recording her interview on a voice memo while she's talking to her on the phone, if that makes sense. There's a lot going on. Okay.
Deadline.
I'm not a terribly religious person, but I think when you're on the Colorado River, there's a sense of history and majesty that somehow sort of touches your soul.
And I became deeply connected to it. It was the most beautiful place that I'd ever been. This magnificent river with these huge rapids, a powerful river through this incredible canyon.
It's my lifeblood. A lot of me is the Colorado River. The molecules of my body have been brought there because of the river.
Así es, Dolores Huerta comenzó su carrera como una maestra en una comunidad de campesinos en California, pero renunció cuando vio las terribles condiciones en las cuales vivían las familias de sus estudiantes.